so incredibly strong. The thing for EDG is, at least if AL did opt into something like that, they do have the ability to outrange it with the Azir. You can just set up for this like long range style composition and then like opt into things like the Aphelios. For AL, looks like they're gonna opt into answering mid lane instead. Kind of surprised if they lean towards the Ahri. You have things like the LeBlanc, the Ryze, which sure might get pushed in early on, but two champions I think Forge looks a lot more comfortable on that AL can maybe think about picking up, you know, either in third or fourth rotation.
But we don't even get the super bot lane at the end. I mean, the Aphelios coming through from Betty, his most played, so, excuse me, actually looking at Viper there. He's only played one game. I was like, oh yeah, 9 games, but I'm looking at Viper's page, so maybe more of a takeaway here, Lyric.
Yeah, wanting to go for that, and maybe even spotting EDG kind of going into that outrange, poke, zone control route, and not wanting to play into it by going for a shorter range AD carry, taking this. And now for EDG, they're still doubling down. I feel like if they wanted to keep with the theme, you would expect something like a Jinx to come out, but I love it. Instead, no, going with the early aggression, Viper back on the Draven.
Dude, this is exactly what you want to see from Viper. Highlights of this AD carry through this split, still playing a great game. His 4th game on Draven as well. He's played it more than he's gotten the Zeri. The Jinx you mentioned as well. Hell, it's even tied with the Kalista. So I love the aggression coming through, Lyric. While for anyone's legend, how do you stem this?
So not wanting to get pinch out in that support role, knowing they need to look for these like heavy fighting bot lanes. And now probably going to end up banning away some of these other tank or engaged supports that the side of EDG would want to look towards. I mean, we know Meiko, Nautilus has been his most played champion pretty much every split, going all the way back to 2020.
Yeah. I mean, one of his best alongside the Alistar historically. Second ban phase, though. Give me a quick run-through as we see the Renata, because still no support here for Meiko. Still no top lane here for Flandre. And Lyric, I wanted to bring up a fun fact that for Flandre and ZDZ, second most played by a large majority is that Gangplank. So I kind of wonder if we flex towards that angle.
I'm curious if EDG will ban out top laners when they can try to ban out more annoyances in mid. Azir can pretty much lane against anything, but I hit on earlier, now already showing one of the bans. So LeBlanc and then Ryze kind of being the other one is 2 picks that, like, sure, you're going to get pushed in, but LeBlanc post 6, you have these angles where you can look for kill pressure, especially if you combo up with a jungler, and we can already see Xiaohao having a ton of CC. And then Ryze, you could try and opt into more of a, you know, ignore laning phase. Once you get a few levels under your belt, you can just kind of throw your Q&E on the wave and look for Realm Warps on side. So I wouldn't be surprised if EDG maybe look towards that as their other ban.
Kind of wondering if, you know, we get something maybe more diverse then from Forge if it gets banned away. Of course, for AL, taking away another support in that set, which is rarely been seen, but Meiko has been one of the people to, one of the persons, one of the peoples, one of the supports to bring it out a couple of times so far. Lyric, that Ahri that Forge hovered before is going to be taken, so finally run me through. You just think it's going to be a Ryze here or something else?
I feel like if not, Forge needs to show something new. I mean, you also could, like, if you're kind of fine stacking lane, you could just go towards the Akali, which is what it looks like AL are going to do regardless. But point is, Forge really doesn't have anything in his repertoire that can really play for the lane. So AL already setting up to play for some of these smaller scale skirmishes around Dragon and Herald early on.
So 2 out of 3, right? It feels like EDG have strength bot, strength through mid. And I want to see what happens on the top side, because Flandre is obviously being put on a neutral to weak angle.
And Gragas would be a pick that fits that quite well. We know Flandre's going to do fine just surviving up in that top side, bringing more appeal to the lane as well. Now for EDG, your options are Braum, or I feel like if you want to opt into a little bit more engaged, you could always go the route of just locking in the Leona as well, because they already do have quite a bit of peel as it is just between Azir, Trundle, and Gragas. If they fall behind, they can lack some options, but we've seen before, whenever Scout's on Azir, he kind of plays the main engage role for EDG.
True, there's a couple of Azirs like that. I feel like Xiaohao's been quoted doing the same thing in some of his rare Azir games. Okay, AL, this is your lane. Lyric, we talked about the GP before. Camille, you also said, but against Gragas, what's the easiest deal?
So I don't even get a chance to answer. They just lock in the GP. So not opting into any more lockdown would be a bit of a harder lane if they did end up going for that Camille, but gonna go for the GP. At least gonna be very good against some of the immobility coming out from things like the Draven, dropping that cannon brush down on top of him, and hopefully giving angles for Forge to be able to get in. Because to me, that's the one thing AL's comp has in spades, right? They have a lot of like ways to zone you out of fights or control space. Forge dropping into Shroud, ZDZ throwing out the Cannon Barrage, Xiaohao just popping a Cyclone, and if they can do that, they can attack from multiple angles, find some flanks. That's their key to winning. For EDG, it's a lot more stock and standard, front-to-back team fight. They want to be playing through the spot lane early because they have the Draven, and I mean, it really couldn't get any more straightforward than that.
It's two strong lanes as well. You mentioned the Azir versus Akali, which you've seen so many times do well enough. But Viper on the Draven yet again. Can Betty and Chocho survive when earlier in the split lyric, you and I were talking about this duo being so aggressive even in the laning phase? They're pulling out a lot of unsuspecting 2v2s.
And I'm curious to see if they can do it here once again. I think it will be rough. Braum does a great job of neutralizing that Nautilus. And then we know Draven, some of his base damages can just be insane. And once you get past the Calibrum, Betty not going to be able to play and just try to outrange him.
Bottom lane going to be insane. Watch the 2v2 as we go into game number 1 where anyone's Legend are still fighting for a playoff seat. If they win this, they are guaranteed. It doesn't matter if it's a 2-1, it doesn't matter if it's a 2-0, they just need the series win. At the end of the week, it'll be top esports that they go up against, and from there, it looks a little bit harder. Even a game taken off EDG, even if anyone's Legend can't win the series, a game could be the difference as we have this final week of runs to see if AL can finally lock in their spot. They're on a 4-loss streak because their schedule has been insane. If you're tuning in for the first time, they have come through FPX, OMG, RNG, JDG, now at EDG with top esports waiting. This is going to be the most significant game of their split. As for EDG, they're like, we could get 5th, we could get 6th, but we could just get 11 wins for a nice ribbon.
I feel like for EDG, right, just all about momentum, all about just finding more game wins, maybe even trying out new things as you go into the playoffs. Is Forge wanting to get a ward down, isn't going to be able to do so with Meiko waiting in the brush. And we can even see Scout going towards that first strike, knowing, right, Ranger versus Melee, going to be able to get a lot of value out of that, try to build up a bit of a nice gold lead for himself on top of the burst that it just will bring throughout the game. Even Flandre doing the same, kind of signaling, going back to that ability haste Gragas that we saw a slight burst of halfway through the split where some of the buffs came through. But yeah, I think it's going to be a fun one coming out for EDG. Hopefully they don't just take it slow, rely on the scaling, and you know, actually they could do that because Scout has given us some incredibly hype, like late game Azir outplays.
And we know it's not going to be a standard game, right? I even like the Xiaohao here as he crosses the vertical. Jungle is going to be starting on the enemy blue. So Xiaohao has top side, and for now, Junjia has bottom lane here for Viper and Meiko Lyric. I know which one I prefer, but it's just going to be the biggest question is to which vertical jungle can get things happening.
I think it would be quite hard for either side. I mean, right, if they realize the vertical jungle is coming through, both lanes kind of just have to accept that they should be pushing. Don't put yourselves in a position where Junjia can look for a gank bot. So you can see Flandre kind of already accepting his position up in top side. As long as no heavy trading comes through, I feel like looking for any sort of like early dives would be pretty much impossible. So you can see now, especially Junjia already just making his way back to his own jungle.
Yeah, there was an immediate clear, like pretty quick as Xiaohao a little bit behind, actually backing off on this top side. So as he hits level 3, wasting a bit of time, Junjia's crossing now instead of going to that red. And it looks like he's going to be spotting out this ward, but anyone's Legend will have the same idea, Lyric. So Junjia just going to waste a bit of time while Xiaohao now knows he can just go to his own red side and possibly contest the lane.
Right, it's funny, you were kind of saying how it looks like Xiaohao's the one wasting time, but since Junjia walking up to his top side with no camps, Xiaohao actually going to be a little bit faster than him getting into his own jungle to try to make things happen. But looks like we shouldn't have any shenanigans happen on first clear with how the side lanes have gone. Not too many opportunities to look for these ganks to come through. Maybe Xiaohao can look for something mid, but can be a little bit rough, especially you can see the HP value that Forge is already on, which is the way that this matchup goes. Yeah,
we already talked about the hard lane as again a bit of that piece down in the bottom lane as well. Chocho and Betty moving to half HP, especially this AD carry, as Junjia now returns to the bottom lane. His pings were going into enemy jungle as he gets Scuttle Crab here, but not sure what Junjia could do, Lyric. We said the potential for dive was low, but at least he's thinking about it.
We said it was low if heavy trades couldn't come through. They have gotten a decent bit of damage on Betty and Chocho. We're going to see if they can pull it off.
It's a good pillar to start off. Heal comes out immediately, though, is tanking up under the turret. Viper in a bad position, just taking the aggro. Betty laughs as Chocho gets another hook in, grabbing him as well. And Meiko now under threat as this Aphelios gets the root down. The exhaust comes through, but the range, Betty, no summoners. As Meiko lucky to be alive, but EDG, that was just not it.
That was a little bit dicey, right? I mean, going into that dive, Betty was on about like 70% HP, so maybe they could see a window how to make it happen, but that was close. And yeah, AL's bot lane gonna walk away with an advantage, and we highlighted that is one of the win cons coming up against EDG, but we're gonna go straight into the replay. Yeah, Betty sitting at about 70% HP, throws the heal right away. So you're pretty much diving a full HP bot lane. Aggro doesn't come through, and I love that Chocho lands the immediate hook onto Viper, gets the passive off onto him as well for them to be able to target and focus him down.
Junjia moving out of rage after the first turret shot. I mean, that hurts. And Viper just standing there like, wait, why am I getting hit? He's got a 10 CS lead, but even though the kill goes to Chocho, there's a bit of pressure alleviated in that bottom lane. I like you touched up on the win condition, especially for EDG, with that bottom lane being subdued quite a bit. It feels like right now, anyone's legend, sitting in a gold lead in this early game is how they cruise.
And we already see Betty picking up the Noon Quiver, so gonna have a decent little bit of power under his belt.
Yeah.
But the one silver lining for EDG's bot lane is at least they still have their flashes, to where Betty now, no flash, no heal.
True.
EDG can potentially try and set up a repeat play around this bot lane. We are getting to the timer, though, where we're hitting level 6 marks, though, so it's not just going to be, like, junglers coming down to bot, right? Mid laner's going to start influencing the map as well.
I was just waiting because Xiaohao's now on the bottom side. Viper dodging the dredge line, quite significant as Chocho angles for another, but Xiaohao still not being spotted out as the Winter's Bite through the lane. EDG have the push here, Lyric, but Xiaohao is being patient.
And Xiaohao not able to find anything. Gonna try and come over, but is gonna be spotted by the ward, so just gonna end up clearing this out at the end of the day.
Dredge line though, and grabbing him. Look at the chain CC as Gangplank with the ulti down. ZDZ setting out with the cannon barrage, finally getting that flash. Well, meanwhile on the top side, a good explosive cast from Flandre also gets the summoner out of ZDZ, punishing without that ulti, and EDG getting somewhat of a trade.
Beautiful coming out from Flandre to be able to take advantage of ZDZ. Dipping his attention down towards that bottom lane to try to enable Betty and Chocho to build on. I don't even really know if it's much of an advantage, right? Because they are still a wave down in CS, but the fact that they got that earlier kill. And now that we're coming to the level 6 point, I feel like especially for AL, this is where a lot of them are coming online. Like Xiao obviously getting the cycle, and Forge now with his ultimate is going to be able to do a lot more in terms of putting threat on backline. But now no cannon barrage, so EDG should be feeling a little bit more confident about either 3v3s in bot lane or 4v4s in general around this bottom half of the map.
Well, I'm just curious in neutrals in that regard, right? Because ward placed by EDG, but no one touching the dragon. Herald is about a minute off spawning as well. With that topside flash being down with the cannon barrage you mentioned, maybe for EDG, a solid topside play looks a little bit easier at this point.
They can enable their bot to get a good push in and start moving Meiko over, in about 30-40 seconds time. I definitely think it's a play that they can look for.
Yeah.
I'm very curious because I feel like a lot of teams don't opt into looking for some of these early setups when they have the Azir, but EDG always do. EDG will hover Junjia around mid, walk up towards that Rift Herald, and then try and use the famous stag, the swoop and boop, to try and find a pick in there. But you can see Junjia already looking towards his top side, but ZDZ having vision completely surrounding him.
I mean, can't get through the tri-brush either. Junjia going to be spotted out in 15 seconds towards Herald, but you can already see that Xiaohao is making the move up top side. Forge is getting pushed up against lane, but the Wukong still by his side. So we are just getting a deep push from Junjia for the meanwhile, and I'm curious as to whether anyone's legend really want to contest this. Now with Cyclone up and available, Lyric, and that cannon barrage has been given time to replenish. I feel like we're on about 40 seconds to go.
And EDG, it's going to be really hard for AL to try to contest, right? Because you can see the lane pressures coming through with Cyclone.
A solo one at that. Junjia flashes over, doesn't want to take the 1v1. A smite to heal up from Xiaohao is there, but an extended trade with lethal tempo. Scout comes in and saves the day. Forge nowhere to be seen as Junjia, it was all a ruse.
Yeah, I feel like we see why Junjia was so confident, right? You look at the vision coming out across the top side, you see the states of the soul lanes. Junjia willing to go in confidently to look for that invade and try to duel him out. Xiaohao kind of calling his bluff and saying, I will 1v1 you, but with the prio coming out from mid, Scout able to get involved, it just turns into a Rift Herald for the side of EDG.
And how big is that going to be for Scout as well, right? We were just talking about this Azir having great lane against the Akali, which many people in chat would understand as well. And for Forge now, life looks a little bit more difficult as Scout will get a second blood, but first item should be coming through after the back of that one as well.
Especially if it just stays in this isolated laning phase. Like,
yeah,
Scout is completely happy with this, trying to pull him out. Really doesn't even ever have to really overcommit too far to get the wave in with the range, able to come out from his Sand Soldiers with the Q, and can just keep Forge in place. And as Akali, right, you don't just want to be kept in mid lane. You want to be trying and influencing sides, trying influencing skirmishes in the enemy jungle. But I feel like EDG have done a pretty solid job at just keeping up this mid pressure and allowing Junjia to constantly keep vision up in river and spot out where Xiaohao wants to make plays and prevent Forge from joining in.
All lanes are going well, I was going to say as well, right? Like, not just the mid lane that we're seeing now being exemplified by Scout, but Viper and Meiko, despite getting pushed into turrets, still keeping on track with CS. Top side is doing well here for Flandre as well. And Junjia is about even at CS with Xiaohao too. So this early game for EDG going about the way we kind of wanted Lyric. And I'm more curious as to how this develops into the first dragon that is constantly being stared at. And with EDG having a Herald, feels like it should also be their advantage too.
I think definitely at a strong point right now. Even Scout now picking up the Luden's Tempest. So a ton of power if they do opt into fights right now. The Herald up, like you said, I'm wondering where EDG are going to look to drop that down. We can already see Junjia heading up towards the top side. If they could get more gold on Draven, I think it would be a little bit more valuable as
Unlucky.
that that didn't hit.
No.
But seeing Rift Herald used for the Draven, or even to try to give it, use it to get pressure for them to look for a bit of an early Drake and start scaling up with those objectives.
Xiaohao making a play on the mid lane as we speak though. Junjia's coming up top and ZDZ's flash only just came up and available. Cannon Barrage flies down first as he tries to pace his way out of there with a barrel chain, but Flandre with the flash body slam denying the barrel and Junjia just beats him with a club. Top side secured here, Lyric. Well, anyone's legend response for now is mitigated.
AL are going to be able to pick up this dragon, though, but you can see Junjia trying to come to mid lane, so that's why Scout is opting into these trades with Forge.
Forge doing an okay job for someone that has double amp time. I mean, the damage greatest, Chocho now going to be spotted out. Flash still available. Scout doesn't burn it. Instead, the ulti is Forge just gets the free kill. Subjugate helps out for the 1v1. And Scout holding on to the summoner, thinking the ult will be enough, Lyric. Ends up being a mid laner death party.
I don't think Scout even expected that to hit. That was like as max range hook as a max range hook could be coming out from Chocho. So great job by him to find the opportunity present. But we know why Scout was going to look for those trades in the first place. As I pause.
Okay, this is going to be a three-man bot, and Meiko with his ulti gets both. Viper stand beside his greatest. Chocho wants to do it again. This time healed away as TP from EDG. That's going to be Scout joining in as Meiko jumps in yet again. Winter's Bite going to be dodged out by Betty. And EDG bring another 3 members here to even up the score.
Nice sidestepping overall coming up from EDG's bot lane, and the ult from Meiko as well.
Stretch line. Okay. EDG simmered down. Still, the dragon's already gone, so I guess with that TP down, Lyric, Scout is just going to move towards mid.
And it looks like they might be trying to set up a play on Forge. Pings are coming out from EDG's side, but no, Junjia just going to opt into heading probably down towards that bot side because Herald incredibly close to timing out, so they got to find a place to use it right now.
Oh, no perfect execution, no flash in the shroud. He stands as Viper flashes, but Meiko in front of him. This Draven without any mana, he's able to spin one axe, but will it be enough for Xiaohao with the Cyclone? He's going to make it a 1v1. Draven is down, and Betty helping out in the fight so massively, but his heal won't be enough to continue it forward. Meiko and Scout rushing forward, and Viper, I believe, was able to get himself a nice cash in before dying. And Scout, what? What was that angle? That was John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever. Holy hell.
That was clean coming out from Scout. Not able to find it in the end, but still, EDG trading up in terms of kill. Junjia able to drop this Herald down mid and start getting some work done on this turret. So, heck, if they can secure that second Herald, or even if EDG just start investing more resources into mid, right? Junjia hovering around, Meiko paying more attention. You put Scout in a place where it can start just free hitting that turret and trying to get it naturally. But we're going to see here, EDG actually using their bot prio to try to collapse on mid. Viper having to flash, but Meiko dodges beautifully, and then even the exhaust gets in on Forge the second he jumps in. Xiaohao does find a nice return kill with all the focus that EDG were putting on Forge, but then you still have another damage dealer to focus on with Scout, and you know, him with that early Luden's Tempest was just able to get the work done onto Xiaohao.
Replay wasn't going to show it. Yeah, Scout appeared over the wall instantly, but I believe it was the shifting sands into the Q. Conquering Sands, I think is Q's name. I can't remember for the life of me. He likes sand. but gets over the wall from the other wall. So that's why Scout looked a little bit janky, but still he's able to pick up a kill in that fight, and 2-1 and 2 on this Azir. Doing real good, level 11 now as well, as he moves towards mid, Lyric. And EDG are going to be able to pick up this first turret blood. First turret blood in the mid lane as well. Quite a rarity.
This is what we were just hitting on as well, right? For EDG, doesn't even necessarily have to be the second Herald. You just dedicate a few resources towards the mid lane, pick this one up. Looks like EDG were able to get some get pressure bot, or at least answer their last wave before moving up with full reinforcements. So now going to be able to opt into a different lane allocation, put Scout down in the bot side, and keep Viper and Meiko mid. For Herald, it's going to come up in 13 seconds.
Oh man, that Herald as well. A lot of towers to take down. The side turrets, a 3k gold lead to help influence that as well. Because EDG are pretty far up in this early game now with 4 mythics complete. 3 on the other side for anyone's legend, but we are talking about EDG's strength at this point, Lyric, especially with Viper, who has a serrated Dirk after cashing in the previous fight.
I feel like especially with the fact that AL weren't able to really make anything happen around that level 6 mark of, you know, maybe Xiaohao trying to find influence on mid lane and like opening Forge up to get pretty big on this Akali.
There's Flash.
Oh, ZZ.
Hits dead on this time as Flandre is waiting for the summoner. Meiko's there. ZDZ flashing in, but it's late. And you know what? More cash for Viper. Don't mind if I do, he says. And EDG are just going to take everything on the map at this point.
Viper is absolutely massive. Like, they pick up a kill, they get the Herald, you hit the nail on the head, getting everything on the map. They're going to very easily be able to use this to start breaking down some of these side lane turrets. And heck, just start making your way down towards that bottom side, setting up for the next Drake, and you might even have an opportunity to use the Herald on that bot lane turret and kind of pick up 2 or 3 objectives, while AL, it seems like, conscious of the fact that they can't contest EDG where they're dedicating resources, so that they're just going to play for this top lane turret.
So what's the next play then, right? If you go to top lane, you still try to push it in. Right now, Flandre has enough wave clear with the Everfrost. I'm wondering what anyone's legend do from here, because, you know, we have an Akali on the Rift who has just picked up Proto Belt, so is it this one item that now creates more proactivity for AL to try and get some of these picks?
It'll definitely help, because AL, 4k gold down at this point, like 4k gold down at 60 minutes. Things are in dire straits for the side of AL, especially when EDG. Also pretty good scaling coming out from Azir, Trundle, Braum. Like that is a great front line and huge DPS to come out later on. So for AL, you're really going to be depending on finding these picks. I feel like giving up, you know, whatever side EDG are putting pressure on, trying to use things like the Gale Force, the Rocket Belt, and just Xiaohao's ability to get in to pick off members that EDG aren't putting resources into.
Because as you said, scaling great, and I mean, Scout on Azir is still a vote of confidence from a lot of our fans, I'm sure. EDG were able to pick up the Dragon off this early game snowball as well, and right now, going so deep into enemy jungle, you can see the last turret, at least on their menu for now, or at least the next one, Lyric. I thought bottom went down, but it did not. As we look towards top side, and EDG trying to group up and catch Forge out. Junjia, oh, he's backing, okay, never mind.
EDG also kind of playing towards both sides, right? We saw Junjia leaning up towards top for Flandre, but you can see EDG's bot lane is actually leaning towards the bot side for Scout. I think playing towards Scout definitely makes a lot more sense, right? Flandre's fine. He's on the Gragas. He has his TP available just in case anything happens. So make your way towards that bot side jungle, start getting some of this vision down, and allowing and opening up Scout to be able to take the spot lane turret. Seems like just them hovering in Fog of War is enough to make ZDZ hide near that inner turret, though.
Yeah, look, he's like, now, even though that the 2 members bot, still a little bit sus on Junjia. And backs away. That's going to be a free turret here to EDG. Top side as well, still standing quite strong. And Lyric, it's an Akali. Like, what's she going to do much against the turret? Is Viper's just like, no, you're not backing. Maybe it's a play for the inner bottom side.
Yeah, they're going to keep pushing as well. Like you said, TP now coming out for Scout. But I love Flandre using the ult to try to clear the wave, get a bit more damage down. And I mean, huge play for EDG. Get a turret, get a second one. They were able to get the last dragon as well. And yeah, this should be able to get another charge. I
mean, still with Forge and Xiaohao spotted in the top side of the map. Flandre sitting there as happy as Larry, which we now realize is Gragas' first name. And you look at the map state right now, EDG just moved towards mid. Lyric, this is what we talked about with EDG. Even though the split hasn't been as successful as like the top esports, the JDG, EDG still, through lane, through standard League of Legends, look clean as depth charge comes in as I'm talking them up. EDG, what are you going to do? Is Viper flashing behind Meiko. His brother helping him out as Forge. Now with no angle, running into Junjia is great as he goes in the Shroud, and the shutdown great as well. ZDZ getting some gold for Flandre now here. He body slams a little bit early. A Scout! Oh. Yep, just the usual. If you want an engage tool, they'll take it as the cash-in comes at his life. But Flandre still at full HP. To sit in front of Viper as the fight's not done. And even though EDG have numbers disadvantage, I would be worried. And Betty with the flash shows he is too.
Yeah. Oh, wow. They're still going. Flandre.
Oh,
I don't think he's
God.
going to fight it. Oh, he finds it.
Oh, dear Lord. Do not give this man a beverage. He'll drink it and then throw the barrel right back at you.
Great cast coming out for Flandre to ensure Viper gets another kill under his belt. I do got to say for AL, though, they picked up some kills themselves. What we saw from Scout is one of the reasons why we don't see Azirs typically try to make these like big engaged plays. We're going to go straight back to the replay. AL find Viper by himself, but he wasn't really by himself. Junjia waiting in the wings. They get straight on to QiuQiu, who does manage to get away. And once Forge able to get in the fight after we see Draven come out from that stasis, was able to get in, get some damage down, pick off the Trundle. But here, Scout, I understand looking to make the play, but you also just end up solo in between all the members of AL. Betty able to dodge out, does pick him off in the end. Then Flandre just running Betty down, lands the cast.
And how good's Larry Gragas, right? Like, look at this. I mean, so clean, and Flandre has been having a steady game, making everyone from EDG cash in. As we say that, ZDZ now caught out in the side lane. Flash available, but that pillar again. Junjia is playing with filth quite literally right now, and Xiaohao tries to bring in the play, but Forge is now under his turret by himself. QiuQiu going to change that with his jungler by his side. So for EDG Lyric, they're trying to set this up for their last outer turret of the game remaining.
And I love that the pressure they're putting on, right? Because if AL make any mistakes here...
And there's a mistake, right? The pillar again, so beautiful. The Scout utilizing the range, and anyone's legend almost getting cleaved up by Viper. Lyric, I dropped for a second. I'm like, no way are EDG going to keep going forward. But the tools in their arsenal are being used to an absolute great degree.
And I love that EDG are playing up towards that top side right now. Not only the turret being left open, right, but if too many members misstep or make mistakes, that's a very easy pivot into a Baron for the side of EDG. They don't find enough to be able to do that this time around, but they still get a bunch of kills. They're able to push in this wave. You look at the vision around that top side. So now AL not really having information up there. Flandre getting a control ward down in bot side jungle as well, where Dragon's coming up soon. It feels like it's almost impossible for AL to walk in and contest. And they might just have to give it up. Not even in a place to, like, threaten a Baron. Like, realistically, they shouldn't be able to do a Baron, I think, with the amount of damage that they do have, right? But you could maybe try and, like, bluff EDG and be like, hey, guys, we're going to do it. What are you going to do about this?
But EDG are already here with vision of their own, so that bluff goes out the window. And Lyric, you know, you blink and you miss it with this gold lead being 8,000, just about. As anyone's legend getting aggressed on by the other three. Viper's damage is humongous with 3 items now collected. And you look at anyone's legend as comparison, it's worth mentioning that Betty's still not at 2 items. Forge still not at 2 items. ZDZ now only has the collector, but are they going to get to a 3rd item with Flandre again with the angle and the pillar? Beautiful. Betty alive though because Aphelios has a lot of healing and he's still going. Anyone's legend kite it back, and I just hate Aphelios all over again.
AL using tools like the GP and Aphelios so beautifully. EDG not having all members there to try and get this consistent damage down. So EDG constantly making these small missteps. But sure, like, these kills don't change the state of the game, right? The gold lead is way too much for the side of EDG right now. If they group up, if they get the proper vision and, you know, find a fight on their terms, it should work out. But AL are going to take anything they can get at this point because, I mean, GP, Akali, Aphelios, the later this goes, I mean, their damage numbers are going to be off the charts as well.
Let's have a look at the replay in a second. I'm sure it'll come through, right? We might be setting up for Baron Vision, but we're going to see. I don't even see how Viper died there, Lyric. Like, this Draven's huge. And with such beauty from EDG, the small misstep, hard to see until we get this replay here.
Yeah, we're going to go straight back through. And Flandre starting off with the cast, nothing really able to connect. But the Cyclone, beautiful, right into the Nautilus hook. Like, great job from QiuQiu and Xiaohao, actually. Doing a lot of the heavy lifting to just lock Viper down. Viper, the short-range AD carry, having to try to run in to get damage down onto Betty. And they didn't let him, but
oh, stare off.
Sneaky standoff, sneaky stare off.
It's a Western. Clint Eastwood versus Lee Van Cleef. You pick sides here. As a Betty is going to walk away from for the time being, Lyric. Is he using Viper's skin, by the way? Is that the EDG? Is that the EDG Aphelios skin with a chroma? I truly wonder. Hang on, we got another stare off. Look, Scout's going all in over the wall. Forge, he can dart back over, but the pillar again. I think Junjia is earning his dinner tonight with the pillars we've seen.
I mean, they've been phenomenal, right? Constantly separating members on the side of AL. And EDG recognize this window, say, hey, we need to go for the spare. Not only did we find a pick, we committed Flandre's TP here. And we're going to see between Moonlight Vigil and Cyclone, can AL do anything?
Oh, the range, the damage. Scout is cleaving through. QiuQiu tanking not so much as Explosive Cask into Pillar again. CC locks him down as now for Betty. His flash is available, but he's trying to save it as Xiaohao's the next target. EDG pull off the Baron, but Lyric, they can just go right back for round 2.
They even got the health bars low enough to where AL really shouldn't be able to look for a contest. Xiaohao at least has to look for a reset, right? Looks like Betty and QiuQiu might angle around here, but it should be impossible. Forge coming in with the TP.
And Flandre playing zone patrol as Meiko is doing the same. It's just gone. EDG with Baron as anyone's legend in this first game at the very least, getting snuffed out from their playoff dreams. It has been 4 series in a row watching AL fall short, and this game 1 is no difference as we look at the replay on Forge.
Right there, Forge walking over that control ward, kind of just ignoring it, gives Scout the opportunity he sees to just throw Akali over the wall, knowing that other members are here, so he doesn't have to be afraid of Forge maybe looking for like a re-engage or just jump back in on him and look potentially for a solo kill. Knows he's fine, gets it done, has the Banshee's Veil as well, so a little bit of safety and security there, just in case Forge did have any, shenanigans under his belt.
And Lyric, I'm one to criticize, but I feel like from, understanding the game, as a mid laner, as someone like the Akali, you're looking at the map, you're not looking at what you walk over. So a bit of a mistake that really hurts Forge. Not seeing the ward in the end and looking at the rest of the players. For that, EDG now have the Baron, they've got a 10k gold lead, and they've got a 25-minute game that shouldn't go much beyond another 5 minutes. While anyone's legend try and stop this siege, EDG are just so damn strong.
I mean, Scout's about to be on his 4th item. Forge still hasn't even finished off his 2nd. It just feels so insurmountable. Going to be able to look for the siege here, and we need to see Xiao finally engage.
Okay, he's got a Cyclone, but Viper still at full HP as Meiko saves him. The shuffle back. The Scout builds arrangement. Betty, an absolute madman as anyone's legend trying to stay in the game. Forge still alive, but Flandre tries to get a clap in. Under turret, he takes a couple too many shots as anyone's legend all survive, and Betty is a psychopath on Aphelios.
Yeah, Betty, knowing he has to be the one to carry this team with how far down Forge is set behind, finds the opportunity. Once again, EDG not really having like all 5 members present or the formation they want, right? Of like Junjia, Flandre being in front with Meiko, protecting the Draven. We're going to see here of how it all goes down. Flandre currently in the mid lane, Ale trying to find the opportunities to go in. Xiaohao knows he needs to be the one to start it off with the Cyclone. Does manage to get in there and critically knocks up Viper. Despite Scout's best efforts, that Gale Force into the Moonlight Vigil with the flash was enough to find the initial kill, and then they're all able to get away.
Oh my god, the flashback from Flandre to get out. QiuQiu looked like he was off it. I don't know if that was a happy accident, Lyric, or just pure bliss for the Nautilus hook.
You know what? We're gonna give him credit. That was all planned and prepared by QiuQiu.
True.
Well, I mean, look at QiuQiu. QiuQiu actually hasn't died this game, surprisingly, with how far EDG have been down. I don't know if that's a good thing, considering that he is a frontliner. But EDG are now on Soul Point, having 2 of those Ocean Souls in pocket, and can just keep going with the fact that they still have Baron buffs on most of their members.
And it's going to be a double inhib exposed in a second as Flandre's just dealt with the mid lane wave. Betty going to use his range himself, but EDG start poking, and if Scout gets his damage down, it's going to be GG. Anyone's legend still doing a good job to survive, but how long can this onslaught go? Now with Baron down, anyone's legend going to say, no, it's not going to continue as Viper's the target, but Scout again saving Private Ryan. Viper lives, Scout lives, the ulti beautiful as Junjia almost getting a kill on the escape path. I mean, Scout is just in a league of his own on this Azir.
Scout just preventing these plays from coming through. The problem, though, for them is it's still leaving a lot of damage on EDG's front line, just kind of being given over since a lot of their tools are being used to peel for Viper and peel for Scout, right? So AL have done a surprising job at, like, keeping this game.
Okay, Pillars there as well. Xiaohao, no Cyclone used in the previous fight. His explosive cast exposes ZDZ. Xiaohao's clone will drop dead. It's 1 kill, but EDG, Lyric, they have a wave coming in and they're trying to run it into the base.
Scout is TP as well, so you can imagine you're TP back in, and they found Betty.
Draven damage, explosive cast, the dunk on head. Larry Gragas does it all over again as Flandre is running headfirst into this team. If you're buying, I'm in. And Flandre has so much money right now that he's looking to buy this whole damn game one. It won't be the end lyric, but EDG have too much cash. They don't know what to do with it.
EDG even extending their gold lead very slightly from the plays they made, and you can see now, go into Xiaohao's jungle, take his camps away, choke out the resources even more for AL. I mean, the silver lining is you'll always have potential to get gold because there are supers pushing into your base, but I don't think that's a great silver lining to have when the game's about to be over. We're going to see here, I mean, at this point, right, EDG just found a pick onto ZDZ and then running forward onto Betty, tries to Gale Force away, but the damage from the Draven was already too much. He does at least go 1-for-1 with Flandre having to pick up that kill in return.
I just love Flandre getting the dunk down, right? He got a Rabadons as his 4th item. So Flandre has just become a 25 kill streak nuke. And if anyone gets hit by that cast, not only the damage will be so significant, but as we've seen in the last couple of fights, it ends someone's career, at least in the first game. So Lyric, when anyone's legend, they feel like they're out of this game. We know it's such a big gold lead. We talk about the scaling of EDG. It just comes down to that one last fight and what they can do to try and stay in it. And at this point, you know what? I'm not sure because Junjia with a pillar again, forcing Forge to back off. EDG's onslaught, it begins once more. Dredge line from Chocho. What else can you do? His Scout is hitting ZDZ. The Azir damage massive as the depth charge and everything throws people into the skies. Scout's ultis have been superb as Flandre is blowing people up left, right, and center. Look at the flash, look at the moves, and Flandre, we know exactly what that was. The Scout gets a double. It's EDG running into the base for the 4th and final time, you feel, with AL completely snuffed.
AL do still have ZDZ and Betty up, so we'll see if EDG are able to actually put the damage down because the only great range they have is coming from Scout, but looks like they are just going to brute force this.
I mean, Betty taking so much poke. Everfrost again and tips him on the side as the explosive cast almost available. Good ult from Betty to hit 2 members. The Scout runs in once more. This is Azir huge. Flandre doing the same, and ZDC about to get creamed. Dunk down. Flandre using it as an execute at this point as EDG don't even sweat for their opponents in game 1.
I love you pointing out the dunk down coming from Flandre and even picking up the Rabadons. Giving me throwbacks to season 3 and 4 where I remember Gragas ult and Q had like ridiculous AP ratios. Like maybe his ult had like a 1.5 or 1.6 and then his Q was like a 1.2 or 1.3. It was pretty ridiculous back when like everything was an assassin. Gragas, LeBlanc, Ziggs, mid lane times, Nidalee, Kha'Zix. Flandre's been around for a long time as well, so he's definitely seen those days.
I think the mid Gragas is like the biggest throwback, right? When the ult times didn't really have, you couldn't really see it coming, right?
Deathfire Grasp.
Yeah. Ooh. Dude, those are the times where League of Legends ran at like 30 FPS as well. You know, even though it said 60, you're like, hang on a minute. My computer's stronger than this. Dude, good times. I mean, having like MapleStory got so advanced and, got like 200 patches deep and people like, God, I need a private server. Need that League of Legends private server that runs old Summoner's Rift, like Season 2, Season 3.
You need to go back to like beta when like Dodge was a stat and you could stand and Fountain. Well, as much as I like reminiscing about how funny different metas of League of Legends were, EDG coming out clapping anyone's legend, kind of surprising honestly, because we were hitting on EDG. I mean, EDG have looked good, but they've been rough around the edges. We actually still did see that in the series, right? They were giving over a lot of picks to AL that forced us to be like, oh, hey guys, AL still have a chance when, let's be real. Yeah, there was like a 10K gold lead almost this whole game. It would have taken so many blunders from EDG to lose this. And I think the damage graphs, great representation because Scout doing so much in this game.
Oh yeah, I mean 41K in a 30-minute game where Scout didn't actually have to deal that much in a full 5-on-5. Scout's damage is insane, but I think also we look at how that setup came through and why Scout was such a big deal. People like Junjia, Flandre, great initiation, and it's so funny when we see a Draven in game, but we're talking about the rest of the map.
Yeah, I mean, Viper was trying to make aggressive plays, but a lot of those aggressive plays were actually getting punished by AL when he was running forward, trying to get the damage down. And Scout as well, also tied highest skill participation in the team. Like, he was doing so much. He wasn't only dishing out the damage. There's that one fight around bot inhib where he, like, flashes back to use the Emperor's Divide to push people away from Viper. So, Yeah, Scout in my mind has been like the most consistent member of this roster all split long. So I think not a huge surprise to see Scout once again being the one to step up. But sad for AL when we said, right, if they could win this series, they're in playoffs. It's still not over, but looking rough.
Even with a game win, if AL can pull a game win off in this series, even if they don't get the series win, it is a much better chance because game difference is where we're sitting at with so many teams being at 7. It's an important series for them, no doubt, but game 2 is going to be an even important more game as they try and even up the score. Or we find out that EDG are just too good at the moment, and especially for AL, look like they're going to be running over the top. We'll go to a break and find out where we stand right after this.